Howdy, Tunon. Are the parents about to fight? Are we gonna squabble? Is we gonna have a fun fight? Because I didn't do something right? What's gonna happen here? Wait, what? What? Oh. He's floating, so I couldn't figure out where to click. Here, everyone stay... You go over there, and you go over there, and you go over there. It's private talk time. So he's floating. So I try to click on his body, I'm like, why can't I click on him? It's not working. Because you have to highlight way down here to get the selection circle to work.
This civil war, this feud, is an insult to Kairos' peace. It should not have taken the better part of a year to silence the last vestiges of the Oathbreakers.
Tunon regards you in thoughtful silence. I agree, Your Honor.
Our allies squabble while our enemies regroup. It falls upon the court to measure the extent of the damage and to execute the agents of disorder. I suspect that treachery, negligence, disunity, and greed have infected one or both of our esteemed allies. Until you are instructed otherwise, this matter is the court's primary focus.
It'd be interesting to find out if they were both the same way.
Graven Ash and the voices of Norrath must be examined in close detail. You are charged with observing the Archons and presenting your case that one of them has wrought chaos and disorder upon the tiers.
Could they both be guilty?
It's possible, but the momentum of the conquest up to this point suggests otherwise. The failure at Vendrian's Well implies a coordinated will behind the chaos. As always, you will be held accountable for what you do in the court's name, but you are free to conduct your investigation in the manner of your choosing. You must expect lies, misdirection, and manipulation. Suffer not such obstructions of justice. They say the voices of Norrath holds you in higher regard than most. Use this alliance to enter his confidence. It seems unlikely the Archon of Secrets is more honest with friends than with rivals, but to his friends, he has been known to divulge much. The disfavored will likely be less cooperative with your investigation. They will no doubt assume Graven Ash's honor is beyond reproach, which is all the more reason to scrutinize the Archon of War closely. And if the ironclad forces discourage your inquiry, I charge you to make them talk. Speak their language of battle if you must.
I shall speak with the Archon of Secrets.
Your fellow Fatebinders have been busy acting as my eyes and ears. I have a few leads for you to follow. You should, of course, speak with your brothers and sisters of the court if you need further counsel. Though the disfavored were triumphant in the Blade Grave, I understand that their troubles within the region are unfinished. Talk to the disfavored commanders serving in the Blade Grave. Perhaps they can shine some light on the origins of this feud. The Oathbreakers were reported to be using iron armaments, more than they might acquire from looting what few disfavored they killed. Any iron in the tiers not rusted through was made by forge-bound hands in Lethian's Crossing. Between craftsman and quartermaster, someone let iron fall into enemy hands. Investigate this matter and bring the thieves to justice.
You gotta wonder then if that misplaced iron I was sent to find was actually misplaced on purpose. Maybe, I imagine the blacksmith who sent me probably did not know, because otherwise why would you investigate your own misdeeds? But what if someone above them was specifically misplacing the iron, and he was contradicting them unknowingly?
There is a final matter to discuss. A sensitive topic.
Though it's impossible to gauge from his expression, Tunon seems more wary than usual. What concerns the court, Your Honor?
In spite of the many shortcomings at Vendrian's Well, you managed to make a name for yourself. You proclaimed an Edict of Kairos, resolved its demanding conditions, and ascended the mountain spire. Any one of these feats would be worthy of recognition by the highest authority. You managed to accomplish 3.
Tunon hovers in observance, awaiting your response. I am in a privileged position to accomplish incredible deeds.
It pleases me that you grasp your role, as long as you temper it with a sense of duty. Whether by design or by accident, you have captured the attention of Kairos' army and the local tiersmen alike. This is no small opportunity, and the court charges you with exploiting your new standing to its fullest potential. You have a title in our hierarchy. However, it's a little-known secret that one's standing in the world is determined by their infamy, their deeds, and how they come to be known. Mind this notion as you bring justice to this lawless frontier. There may come a time when your deeds speak for you louder than any title. If your killing spree in the bastard city is any indication, you are no stranger to spreading infamy already.
Tunon nods in approval.
Whatever you did to capture the attention of the masses at Vendrian's Well, I would encourage you to do so again.
Understood. I will be known as a champion of justice.
Good. It falls to us to set a new standard for these southern barbarians. You are dismissed. Should the court have need of your presence, you will receive word. Go forth and do my bidding, and bring glory and honor to the tiers in Kairos' name.
That sound was, startling. Tunon raps his gavel against the floor, the singular note resounding throughout the hall. And he's gone. Freaky. Now we have reason to go to Cacophony. Hey, everybody, let's join up again. Everyone's getting bonuses across the board. Anyone level up from that? Probably not. So my understanding is that when you get ooh, there's still objectives being dealt with in the top corner there, one by one. So my understanding is that when the game wants to give you experience, like when you do fights and use skills and so on and so forth, the individual meter goes up a little bit, which affects your overall experience pool. But because your overall experience is based on all these different pools, whenever you do anything that's like completing a quest, where they're like, oh, time to give him experience, they give you experience by just adding. They take an amount of experience and evenly divide it between all of the different meters instead, and that slowly builds up your experience meter as a result, which is different, but it's there. It also means that the more stuff you teach, the more meters you have available to you, the more thinly spread it could be, unfortunately. So we need to go to Cacophony, and we need to go to, oh yeah, Evidence Against Graven Ash and Voices of Norrath, Cacophony, Spires, and Lethian's Crossing. We have a few places to go to now. Should I check for any follow-up dialogue? You return. It is gratifying to see that the war has not caused you to forget your roots. What is it you wish to know? Oh, we can learn things. I'm curious about Bleden Mark. We keep hearing about him. He is my headsman and an assassin without equal. His official designation in Kairos' hierarchy is the Archon of Shadows, though I wonder that he ever considers himself aught but a slayer of the unjust. How did he earn the title? His work away from the court takes Bleden Mark to the dark places of the world, the Tiers and Northern Empire alike. Over time, Shadows became his dominion. They cloaked him, protect him, and even fight for him if the need arises. It is said that Bleden Mark can travel to any place where the shadows are cast. Only he would know this for certain. Does Bleden Mark serve you alone? Your question is flawed. We are all servants of Kairos. The Archons are also agents of their own interests, those chosen few, empowered to bring order to the world in accordance to Kairos' peace. At present, Bleden Mark is my vassal, and I his patron. The relationship is not so different from Graven Ash and Cairn, the fallen Archon, or the Voices of Norrath and his songbird Siren. Such partnerings and apprenticeships are common. They provide mutual benefit to the Archons involved, as well as a measure of oversight. Tell me about Kairos. We can hear about Kairos from an Archon for once. Have I hit 4 yet, by the way? We're very close, actually. Kairos is our Overlord. She ushers us from the brink of chaos with a stern hand, and gestures to the way of peace. We are only too eager to follow her in perfect example. Have I heard Kairos referenced to as being female before? Definitely not for a long time. She definitely tends to get referred to specifically as a... oh, that's actually a point of discussion. I couldn't help but notice you referred to Kairos as a woman. Well, that didn't go great, did it? Beware of that trajectory of thought. Save for her perfection, there is little about Kairos to which we could ascribe recognizable attributes. A power as distant and unknowable as the Overlord should transcend our petty dualities. Male, female, it makes no difference. Kairos is mother to us all. Okay, so asking that question in itself was a mistake, apparently. Are all these questions a mistake? How old is Kairos? By our reckoning, her age upon Terratus is magnificent. Her true span defies measurement by our limited construct of time. It would be a waste to spend our few pitiable years attempting to solve the riddle of existence. Think of Kairos not as a subject to beginnings or ends. Kairos is, and Kairos will ever be. What is your relationship with Kairos? She is my master, and I her dutiful pupil. In this respect, you and I are no different. I have the honor of Kairos' confidence. She trusts me to enact her law upon the boundless territory of her rule. I am only too grateful to serve. I am the voice of Kairos' will, the harbinger of her judgment, and the arm of her justice. Do you think Kairos' laws are fair? Well... honestly, it's probably a good thing anyway. Yay! Tier 1 technically is helpful. It technically goes towards unlocking things. But yeah, I'm basically getting backlash just for asking questions at all. That is an irrelevant question. Kairos is law. It is the responsibility of fairness to conform to Kairos' definition of it, and anyone who believes otherwise is an agent of anarchy. Well, he's got rather stalwart views then, doesn't he? Contemplate this as you deliver Kairos' peace to the frontier. If you fail to understand the importance and immutability of Kairos' law, then your work is but a perversion of justice. Well, speaking of law, I wish to speak to you about that. Then you are well situated, for my court is the legal heart of this corrupt and uncivilized realm. What matters draw your curiosity? You are well versed in Kairos' laws, but I am happy to discuss the particulars. I wish to discuss Kairos' peace. The cornerstone of our wartime efforts, of course. Kairos' peace guarantees all willing supplicants under the Overlord's authority a place in her world. The exact wording of the bylaw is, your life is not yours to discard. The Overlord has plans for you. This extends to several spheres of influence. Among others, it grants protection to enemies who surrender in time of war, and it forbids suicide. To dispense with the Overlord's vassal and property is prohibited. Remind me how the Overlord's name may be used. It is not forbidden to cross one's tongue with Kairos' name, but it behooves one to use caution and respect. The Overlord's name is not yours to give, whether to progeny, product, location, or abstraction. Slander of the Overlord is punishable by death. There is only one Kairos, and her name is safeguarded. No one may say Kairos and have it obfuscated by second meaning. Neither will her name be associated to trivialities. A gambler will not attribute his fortune to Kairos' luck, or his misfortune to Kairos' scorn. Such an association lowers the Overlord in the public estimate, and is rightfully considered slander most foul. So you basically can't use Kairos in any context for anything. No slang, no naming things after it, no nothing. Kairos is just Kairos, and exists specifically in reference to Kairos and nothing else ever. And there's no turns of phrases allowed or anything. Let's discuss the old walls. The old walls are forbidden, as are their contents and their denizens. Owning any item from the old walls is considered trespass, regardless of how it came into your possession. Mind that in the course of your travels. Wow. So if I ever somehow reach the old walls, if I even have an item from there, I could get in trouble, basically. Which makes me wonder if the old walls might have any special significance in an anti-Kairos sort of way, if there's such a strong law against being near them. As the old walls extend across much of the tiers in Northern Empire alike, Kairos permits her servants to pass only where she has sculpted the landscape to permit traverse. Under no circumstances are you to enter a breach in the old walls, even for a task as innocent as crossing to the other side. If these restrictions seem too severe, I would remind you that they are for the protection of Kairos' subjects. The Overlord has no desire to see harm needlessly inflicted upon her loyal followers. Remind me of the Magician's Folly, which came up, of course, when we got one of the Scarlet Chorus killed. Practitioners of the arcane arts must be sanctioned by one of Kairos' guilds, such as the Blood Chanters or Forgebound. Rogue magicians with a tenuous grasp of unknown powers will not be tolerated. Ab lowers her gaze to the ground, thumbing the chords of her bandolier in a thinly veiled attempt to appear uninvolved in the discussion. So long as your Tidecaster remains your deputy, she will have a protection of the court, but not a moment longer. I must allow you to have the most fearsome agents at your side to dispense justice, but you remain culpable for her actions. Huh. So if I start fondling that tall slab of handsome over there, you're the one guilty of molesting him. I can live with this. She points to Nunaval, who shuffles nervously at Eb's gaze. They can't see each other from here, you silly. It just means you can't break them. Are you two done with this little side panel? A sanctioned mage whose spellcasting causes damage to life or property is lawfully deemed innocent as long as they practice their art in the service of Kairos. All is forgiven. Let's speak of quotas and sharing. The harvest blooms and blights by the will of the Kairos. In terms of lean, you will be fed. No. Oh. The harvest blooms and blights by will of Kairos. In times of lean, you will be fed. In times of wealth, you will feed others. This law is a sizable category unto itself, serving many needs at once, trade and tax being only two examples. The broadest intent of the law is to empower Kairos' subjects to care for their neighbor and expect care in return. You might take note of the law's application to trade. A merchant's right to peddle their wares is defined by permits granted annually. The regional authority has the right to decide if a merchant sells cabbage one year and sandals the next. Anyone breaking through the restrictions is subject to immediate forfeiture of all assets. You need not concern yourself over the nuances, at least until they apply to this contested realm in a time of peace. I'm curious about the restriction on forbidden knowledge. Kairos herself sets the standards on what can and cannot be known. These restrictions are rarely enforced, but they are worth taking into account. During the war, for example, Kairos deemed the knowledge of the Vellum Citadel taboo. No one may possess the wisdom of that fallen repository, save Kairos herself. Calling it all taboo seems a bit like overkill. But to play Kairos' advocate, the world would hardly be safer if all had access to the lore of making poisons or the art of arming brigands in fine bronze. This is for the protection of her subjects. Before the coming of Kairos, during the ages of anarchy and discord, powerful knowledge in undeserving hands leveled empires without thought or mercy. Kairos has no desire to revisit those dark times. Am I beholden to these laws? That should not be in question. We are all subjects of Kairos. Her laws define and regulate our very way of life. With that said, as an agent of law, you are granted more leeway than a soldier or citizen. You may find yourself compelled to commit morally questionable acts in the name of Kairos. If it serves the court's justice, much may be forgiven. So the rules don't apply to you as long as you're enforcing them on someone else. I want your job. If the court finds any of your actions suspect, we will summon you to answer for yourself. Your testimony will be heard, and judgment be rendered. Hey, Favor. You are exceedingly curious about the application of Kairos' law. I find that refreshing that you would seek my counsel, Fatebinder. Did I just hit 4? I think I did. Yeah! Whoa! Whoa, I'm like an inch from 5. That's... By the standards of this game so far, this is absurd progress. Previous questions? I forgot I was even in a separate tier of questions at that point. I'm curious about you, Archon. Curiosity is not a trait that I encourage in my servants. Too often have I witnessed such activity leading down path of lawlessness. However, if you feel that a better understanding of me will inform your work, then I will allow it. What would you know? Tell me about your rise to become adjudicator. Curb your ambition, student. My path to this dais is not one that could be replicated under any circumstances. However, if your curiosity is determined, I will tell you my story. Forgive me, Your Honor. I only wish to know my master better. I came into this world centuries ago, before the dream of a unified Northern Empire was fully realized. My home country lay far from the borders of the Kairos' realm, and our conquest was a matter of distant speculation. Decades before rumor of Kairos' approach grew in panicked volume, I familiarized myself with the intricacies of her law. It took me no time at all to realize the benefits of our inevitable subjugation. I took it upon myself to rise in my country's governance as an arbiter of the law and drafter of covenants, building some notoriety for my execution of fair justice. As my influence and the trust of my people evolved, my decisions transcended to define future precedent. Go on. What my countrymen could not have surmised was that I had woven into our customs the very backbone of Kairos' law. I set the stage for the conquest of our floundering nation to join the Overlord's empire. By the time the Overlord's armies presented themselves and offered terms of surrender, we had adopted Kairos' peace in all but name. Our absorption into the Northern Empire was a matter of legal formality, negligible changes to our already beloved documents of law. The people credited me as the architect of peace, and for a time called me Tunon the Fair. As my importance grew in their estimate, Kairos could not help but learn of the part I played in her bloodless victory. Kairos' law has a breadth of intricacies that is unapproachable to the masses. I was chosen to interpret and represent the Overlord's will across the Northern Empire and beyond, this time as adjudicator. It is my pride, my duty, my life. That's actually an interesting story. So he actually more or less ruled a place, and knowing that they were going to be conquered, just made them follow the same laws as Kairos in advance, and then made it completely painless for the transition to happen when everyone else was fighting. So in a weird way, he was sort of betraying his nation and just giving up to Kairos, but at the same time, knowing now how incredibly undefeatable Kairos seems to be, he probably saved hundreds or thousands of lives? Which is arguably a good idea. What does it mean to be Archon? I'm a figure of power and significance, and under Kairos' mandate I am able to exercise my authority for the benefit of all. Had I not earned the Overlord's approval, I would not stand tall before you. Did you come into power yourself, or did Kairos foster your talents? We already know the answer to that, technically. I actually know the answers to all these questions, basically. What's the deal with your mask? This should be obvious to you by now, student. Since the answer is relevant to your duties, I will tolerate your ignorance and explain. The face is an uncontrollable warren of muscle spasms and reactionary contortions, sickening in its display of every petty bias. I cannot be trusted to audience or judge a dispute without navigating a gauntlet of subjectivity for all to witness. Go on. In my early days, before the Northern Empire spread to my lands, I fashioned the mask of listening out of stern, uncaring wood. This expression of enduring patience harkens the testimony of my petitioners, taking in all evidence before weighing matters in their due course. Later in my career, Kairos herself gifted me the Mask of Resolve. You will find it almost identical to the Mask of Listening, save for the brow furrowed in contemplation and weighted down by the burden of judgment. This is the face that dispenses law, often the most exacting and unforgiving sort. I wore it when I brought Kairos' devastating judgment to the bastard city, and doubtless I will wear it again. I probably am not supposed to ask about what he looks like under there. But I kind of want to anyway. So what do you look like under the masks? Tunon hovers in silence, staring down at you. Let's return to my other questions. I think that would be best. That's pretty much what I thought it was going. Okay. Did you come up with the Office of Fatebinders? Indirectly, yes. Just as I am the representative of Kairos' law across Terratus, you are the face of my judgment for the people. I took inspiration from the Overlord's example, as we all should. So all of the Fatebinders are essentially the equivalent of his Archons. The people needed to be an approachable face to settle their grievances, and I am not available to adjudicate on every sharecropper's dispute. The Fatebinders were an inevitable solution. Why is curiosity such a problem? Which is literally pushing the dagger deeper of curiosity, which is amusing. I have no more questions. Then be on your way. I'm amused by that. It's like, you ask too many questions. Why are my questions too many? How did you not put this together a second ago when I said you asked too many questions? It's amusing. Alright, let's check in. These three are supposed to give me some information that I can use, besides what they've already given me, of course. Regards, Guy Lovebridge. You look as if you need something. Callio tips her head to one side, a glimmer of curiosity in her dark, discerning eyes. What can I do for you? No? No? You? Not necessarily. Huh. I thought he wanted me to talk to them, but I guess that's not what he meant? Or maybe he just meant that they have useful information, which I've already exhausted. I'm gonna check these guys. So we've already talked to most of these characters before, so I'm not gonna be interrogating them, but I'm gonna check to see if they have contextual dialogue based on what just happened. Fatebinder, you're no stranger to Tunon's court, but I'd prefer to spend as little time here as possible. In spite of these closed walls, I feel strangely exposed. He glances up at Tunon. So good of you to join our little family with the voices. We'll make you feel right at home. You'll make our time in the Tears an interesting one, won't you? He smiles for an uncomfortably long time. Of course you will. She nods you along with a gesture of her staff. Just gonna double check over here real quick. Is there not a run faster button? I think you can double click on pillars to make people go faster. The nobles are getting restless. Keeping the peace is a real challenge. I am duty-bound to remain civil to you in this vaunted court, but don't push it, traitor. Nice. Aurora avoids making eye contact with you, but instead carries on speaking with her company. Fatebinder? The lieutenant gives you a curt nod. I'm ill at ease in this polished hall, but I admit that it's a reprieve from the battlefield and training grounds. If Ash needs me to stay here and represent his interests throughout the occupation, then I'll be up to the task. Oh. It can't be worse than our days in Lethian's Crossing, jokes aside. You were generous to grant the disfavored control over the city. Even the Iron Legion needs a break from the front every once in a while. It's really weird having one of these characters speak to me in any positive terms. But yeah, it's because of the whole Lethian's Crossing situation. Favor 0 is pretty bad. Why do I only have one Wrath with the disfavored? Hail Ash and Kairos. So she wasn't nearly as spiteful, much to my surprise. Let's get on out of here. Maybe time to leave this place at long last. Oh. Oh? Oh, it's Bleden Mark. It's the assassin character. Welcome back, kid. Amusing as it would have been to watch the edict drop, I guess I'm glad you lived. Bleden Mark, Archon of Shadows, rouses from a faraway stare, turning to face you with a wry smile. Though he stands still, he seems to sift in and out of the shadows that shroud him. Sided with the Scarlet Chorus, huh? You like secrets and trickery. The Archon gives you a long stare, punctuated by the end of a short sneer. Let's see, I can leave, glare. I love how often glare silently is an option in this game. Let's see. I can call him Archon of the Elderly. Time was of the essence, but Ash was slow to act. I sided with the Archon that could ensure my survival. It's not surprising that he'd be cautious. Ash's Legion has warred without reinforcements for years, unlike the Voices where, when his soldiers die, his army dwindles. I imagine you're off to meet with the Voices for, well, whatever it is he has in mind. But first, you and I need to have a little chat. I'm listening. Everyone's keeping an eye on you, because you did something nobody's done before. Got a guess as to what that might be? Let's see, I can say that I'm the first Fatebinder to engage in a war against ally soldiers, proclaim 2 edicts, resolve an edict before its consequences come to pass. Is that really the first time? No, it can't be. First Fatebinder to awaken the spire of the old walls. That's got to be it. Take an evasive stance against your rhetorical questions. That's actually pretty funny. I'm the first Fatebinder to awaken the spire of the old walls. You're not wrong. That was definitely a shock, but I doubt it's the sole reason you've made the tears tremble. Proclaiming an edict isn't new, neither is surviving or resolving the commandments of an edict, but you're the first to proclaim and resolve the very same edict, and it didn't kill you. Oh, I started and ended the same edict. Yeah, it almost makes the whole thing feel a little pointless, doesn't it? In one fell swoop, you survived your second edict, resolved the very one you had proclaimed, and woke an arcane structure that has slept for several centuries. And now I go on your short list of people who stand out as potential problems? More or less, mostly more. He offers you a dangerous grin. I don't care what you do with the information, but you should know the danger you're in now, and you've put yourself on the map. When you're dealing with the Voices, don't forget that he'll be doing everything he can to figure out what makes you different, and how he can use it to his own gain. Thanks for the advice. The Archon of Shadows shrugs to you in farewell, but his golden eyes are alight with interest as he watches you. Can we follow up on that at all? He seems like an interesting character. How about a little breathing room, kid? He's not into it. And he calls me kid, which isn't great. So there's the Sunset Spire at Lethian's Crossing, and there's Cacophony for the main story stuff. Rather curious about the Spire, though. There's the Mountain Spire. I wonder if I should start looking into upgrades for that, too. For training? Yeah, everyone leveled up. Maybe I should look into training options. Let's maybe wander on back, huh? It occurs to me that I maybe didn't need to come back here to do this, because I think that button's just always there, and I probably don't need to do it from here. But anyway, let's get Tanera. Recruit hired. Tanera will appear the next time you travel to the mysterious device. So not now? I assume this is the mysterious device, right? That's what we mean by that? Sculptor doesn't respond to your touch. Alright. Does this mean I need to, like, warp out? Like, go downstairs real quick? We'll teleport instantly to below here. And then we'll teleport instantly back up. It's so exciting. I actually haven't been back down here since. Are there people hanging out down here? Do I need to wander around Vendrian's well and try to make people happy? And or murder them all? This and that? Oh. Visually neat. The stone throne is caked with a solid layer of dust. No one has sat upon it for quite some time. Alright. All that remains of the plates and in the goblets are molded bits of bread and dingy water. A decent meal hasn't been had in this room for a long time. This thing said something about a long time. I might lose my mind. The intricacies of this architecture suggest a master of craftsmanship that is far beyond that one would expect from a normal tiersman. Oh look, my crest is up there. I forgot I made that. I feel like it hasn't come up for a while. Alright, right back up. Just curious to see if she'll immediately reappear. This new character. Oh, is that them? Tanara. You see a bronze-clad woman in meticulously maintained attire. The leather buckles in her chest piece show fresh oil, and the scales on her armor have been neatly arranged. She gives a quick bow as you approach. Fatebinder. Vendrian Guard, Wrath 3. So she's a member of Vendrian Guard as part of this. Her expression is neutral, and her tone one of forced cordiality. I am ready to serve as requested. Though the apex of old is no more, I am ready to help you find its new place in the tiers. Should you need any instruction in matters of combat, I will assist. Have you been in the apex all your life? Yes, proudly. Though there is no greater duty than to serve your country, Apex's challenge are many, and they are rarely addressed abroad. This valley has been assaulted time and time again. What would have remained had we abstained from vigilance? What's your approach to training? Instilling resolve, first of all. We all need purpose for the fights ahead, and unless you know why you bleed on the battlefield, it will be all too easy to succumb to fear and pain, and discipline most of all. The Guard received hot-headed recruits all the time, and they would all be dead if they charged every time their blood boiled. Except for that one time where people would use that spell to make people angry, and that would lead to them charging. Seemed like it worked just fine in those situations. Alright, so we have a decent chunk of money, but it does cost me every 3 ranks or so pretty much costs me a bronze. That's the copper, bronze, if I remember. Yeah, I think that's the order of this stuff. So I probably should upgrade yeah, like throne and one-handed and stuff like that. Maybe parry in this guy's case. Let's do at least a couple ranks into throne. And maybe some dodge and parry, just for the sake of survivability too. There we go. And there's Barrack. We'll do one-handed dodge and parry. Mostly parry, really, I think. So one-handed parry. There's Lantry. I think we want to save for a spellcaster trainer for you guys, though. There we go. Alright, so we've successfully recruited our first character. So they're here. I think they just stay here. Maintenance cost is none, so apparently I don't have to worry about that. 1 scroll. Okay. So there's a lot of trainers here. Somebody who produces weapon, has unique items for sale. They're very expensive, though. This person comes by periodically with camping supplies, which is not terrible. I think we're going to want to wait for when we have more money in general, though, before we hire more people. Instead, we should choose our next story destination. And I'm thinking maybe go for that next spire over there. Cacophony can wait, perhaps. Perhaps? But I'm curious about how there's another spire over here and what that might mean. It isn't disfavored land, though, isn't it? Okay, then. Maybe Cacophony's the next reasonable goal, then. We should cement our situation with the Scarlet Chorus before I start going into disfavored lands. I don't know if that'll actually help, but it seems like the reasonable solution. Cacophony. The howling masses of Norrath's horde reside here amongst the dry, rocky plateaus clustered in the stone sea's outer rim. Though not resembling a traditional fortress, the Archon's chosen base of operations is exceedingly difficult to assault. Well, this place certainly looks like a change of pace, doesn't it? So I believe we should be safe to approach. Oh yeah, this is clearly a big town area. Not even like a outside area to try to navigate through on the way here. Welcome to Cacophony, Fatebinder. Norrath said to be expecting you. We're gonna find the voices of Norrath. Northeast corner of the camp, near the only real buildings left. If he's not on his throne, he's wandering not too far from it. What can you tell me about Cacophony? It's the main stronghold of the Scarlet Chorus and the Tears. All the chorus groups have some of their people here. Horde, Scarlet Furies, Blood Chanters, Bloodhound, even the Beastmen. Everybody's got their own section of camp. Better that way. Keeps the brawling to a minimum. Farewell. Oh, we got a merchant here, but if you need to buy anything, there's also the quartermaster. But Norrath's gonna give him the say-so before you're allowed to get your hands on chorus goods. So I should meet with Norrath first, then check out their quartermaster and see if there's anything cool there I can use. There's something.
Got it.
What is that? Blood-soaked mantle. Frenzy. Minus 15% recovery time while has wounds. Interesting. So jam that on somebody that ever gets wounds, and they might act faster. That'd be great for Verse if she was here. But I think I have a spare slot. Yep. Put that on the main character. First time we've seen a purple frame on anything. Didn't know that was an option. And what do you have stashed up here? Oh, Splinter, Dirge, and Wrathrot. And we got assorted fruits. It's the first thing I expected to find in Scarlet Horde territory is brilliant combinations of assorted fruits. Greater healing potion. Oh, full heal. That's a big deal. Will revive when defeated for 120 seconds, walking death. So if you use this on yourself when you think you're going to go down, it'll bring you back up. Probably a good thing to give to our character that actually can go down. Whoa! Fatebinder, moment of your time, if you will. That tremor surprised me a bit. Who said that? It was Wrathrot. I couldn't tell if it was Wrathrot or if it was Dirge at the time. They must be having a fight, huh? Just what we need, a Fatebinder of the courts. Look, I understand my rank, but I can't just bite my tongue when bossman Dirge thinks to get away with a crime of such proportions without bribing me first. He grins maniacally, staring daggers at his gang boss even as he speaks to you. Frig you, Wrathrot. Dirge shakes his head, murder written in his sneer. As if you'd settle for a rent rump with a fistful of rings. Admit it. The price you want's my head, so you can stand atop our little crew. What crime is being charged? A capital one, Fatebinder, and I saw it with my own eyes. 3 nights back, Bossman snuck into and out of the old walls, running Wisdom Rise. You shitface, Dirge barks at his subordinate. Think you can steal the throne when you're breathing around my blade in your chest? Or maybe it'll be your crafty forked tongue I should carve out first. He crosses his arms over his chest, simmering with indignation, but as he scowls, a hint of worry flickers across his furrowed brow. He licks his lips before entreating you to dismiss the complaint against him. Like I'd be dumb enough to risk my entrails scurrying about some fusty ruins. Think I don't know why they're forbidden? Scouring the old walls is just asking to incite Kairos' wrath, and I've got no death wish, either from the Bane within, nor Kairos above, nor a Fatebinder of Tunon before me. Let's see. Wow, I can just immediately, I can sentence him immediately. Or no, it's it's between sentencing him or hearing his plea. Or I can say that a false accusation is an insidious crime. And yeah, the person has a clear benefit for this crime being true, so of course it's very possible that he's faking it. Or I can just wait. Let's let them talk for a bit. Jurors shift his weight, waiting for you to speak for an uncomfortable stretch of silence, until he self-consciously scratches a patch of dry skin from his scalp. He thinks you did it, Rathrot taunts in a mocking whisper, causing his gang boss to snap rigid with anger. Yeah, it's true I've got no proof to say I've done nothing wrong, but you've also got no proof to say I have, 'cause nothing's happened aside from your ill-thought lies. He shouts back at the Horde member. So you're saying you didn't chase that sage right into the old walls? That's what you're saying, boss? That you followed her, but didn't go in? Rathrot splits a vile grin, lips oozing wider with each accusation. He runs a tongue over his teeth, barely containing his violence and resentment. So there's more of the story. Now we're talking about a sage. Also, it seems to suggest that Rathrot didn't even see him do it in the first place, but just assumed he did based on the fact that he was following a sage. For a moment you can see the whites of his eyes as he blinks away the shock, but it's quickly replaced with fury. You damned well know I didn't go in. He cocks his head to you, face flustered red as he explains. The thing is, me and Wrath had been chasing a sage clear from Lethians. I guess she figured she wasn't going to slip us, so she made a beeline for this breach in the old walls. I know the law, so I wasn't about to follow her in. He wets his lips before continuing. But I'd also be loath to let the enemy of the Overlord slither free, so I cornered her before she could make it past the breach. This asshole here is the one who slit her damn throat as I held her down. Now he's saying he watched me waltz right into the old walls without him. Oh, come on, Fatebinder, are you gonna believe that? I called you over here, I'm telling you what happened. Don't let him weasel out of proper sentence. He totally lacks evidence, though. He says that he was right. He's not even denying that they were supposedly next to each other. Let's see. Huh. Why are you so eager for me to sentence Dirge, Rathrot? Eager? The Horde member rubs at the back of his neck, ill at ease. I mean, I'm just thinking, on account of Dirge being such a true criminal under Kairos' laws, he really isn't fit to lead a gang no more, so somebody like me ought to be running things. You see, Fatebinder, all he has is his scheming and lies. He knows we'll lose if he challenges me outright, so he thought he'd accuse me of a crime even the voices couldn't dismiss. He stares icily at Rathrot. There's a lot going on here. Let's see. I could totally screw with him if I wanted to. Okay, I see the lie down there. Let's see. Only people under direct orders can go there. Did you touch anything? False accusations. Is the penalty of a false accusation is severance of 2 fingers in the sword-bearing hand. Have Rathrot choose his own punishment. 300 rings or 3 years of hard labor. Just immediately go after him without any guaranteed case of in either way. Let's see. I can say that I'll let Rathrot off the hook if he'll lick my boots and beg for apology. Licks Barrick's boots and begs my apology. That's even worse. Or I can find them both guilty of wasting my time. And this one's amusing. I can lie about the accusation, the punishment, by making it way more severe, which pushes him to like, it sure as hell better be true. Or maybe he'll back off and panic and run away. So this is a lie. The penalty for false accusation is death by impalement. Ha! Oh, that's glorious. Can't wait to see the showing. Dirge flicks a vulgar hand gesture to his former subordinate. I'll make sure the whole gang's there to watch, up close and personal. No, wait, you can't. This hasn't turned out right at all, Fatebinder. Please have mercy. It was all a big misunderstanding, you see? Well, that'll teach him to... Lantry looks down at his feet, lost in thought. To never ask a Fatebinder anything? I suppose if that's the precedent you wish to set, the choice of punishment is a good touch. Well, it's not the intention necessarily. It wasn't about silencing complaints, but to go after anybody who makes false accusations. I was testing how committed he was to his accusation, which was apparently not very committed. But I'm not necessarily trying to silence people. Huh. Well, there's outcomes to everything, and that's one of the outcomes to what I did, I suppose. This place looks rather extensive. Sort of scanning around a bit, so that's got to be the voices of Norrath. Yep, there's even a little throne there. Surprisingly open air. Well, there's a whole base back here, so he just has like an exposed outdoor location for hearing people, probably. That appears to be several people. Oh, I thought those were like people that were flayed, but it looks like they're just people wearing armor that looks vaguely rib-like. All right then, this will be a place to explore.